Japan has slipped into a recession. It is no longer the world's third largest economy after being overtaken by Germany. Its fall from grace has been continuous and decades long, but recent developments have shocked the country into a new, unexpected recession, completely changing its future economic outlook. Inflation is up, consumption is down, and its workforce is aging rapidly. But how exactly has this happened? To find this out, let's first go back to a happier time for Japan. The glory days following World War II planted Japan as an economic powerhouse. They emerged from the ashes in an economic miracle, benefiting from a highly educated and disciplined workforce, as well as US aid to help rebuild the country. They averaged growth rates of 10% in the 1960s, becoming the second largest economy in the 70s. While living standards rose on par with its Western allies, a bubble formed in the 80s due to rising stock and housing prices. The Tokyo Stock Exchange reached an all-time high in 1989, only to drop 50% within a year. This crash wiped out trillions in wealth, causing the 90s to become what is known as the lost decade. Stagnant growth and multiple recessions meant Japan lagged behind the world's dominant powers. As growth dwindled to a mere 1.5 average percent, far below the global average, Japan slipped into a deflationary spiral. As prices fell, consumers and businesses delayed spending, anticipating further declines, choking off economic activity. Government policies to address this were all ineffective. Deep-rooted structural issues were left unaddressed, and a risk-averse mindset settled in, hampering innovation and bold initiatives. The last 2 decades have seen Japan plodding along. Despite avoiding a complete collapse, this fall has pushed Japan into somewhat obscurity. A key objective in returning Japan to its glory days was solving the deflation problem. The Bank of Japan implemented a controversial policy: negative interest rates. In theory, anyone who wanted to borrow money would be paid to do so. This should increase the money supply in circulation, boosting economic activity and ultimately leading to a modest rate of inflation, a sign of a healthy economy. However, Japan now faces a dramatic reversal, fueled mostly by global price rises out of their control. They now grapple with unexpected inflation. The rate is currently 2.6%, but it is not expected to stop there. Inflation cuts the purchasing power of people by making everyday goods more expensive. For example, food prices were rising 7% at the end of 2023. In effect, the public becomes poorer, so overall consumption decreases. This has led to 2 straight quarters of negative economic growth, meaning Japan is now officially in a recession for the first time since 2020. This has caused Germany to eclipse Japan as the world's 3rd largest economy, despite Germany being in a recession of their own. This just shows the magnitude of Japan's problems. But what exactly can the government do about this? For the first time since 2007, the Japanese central bank is expected to increase interest rates away from the negative territory in an attempt to put an end to inflation. They are hesitating on this, however, because high interest rates mixed with a recession is a bad combination. Making borrowing more expensive does reduce inflation, true, but it also reduces investment, which is key for economic growth. If they are not careful, they could face a vicious cycle where attempting to solve inflation ruins growth, but attempting to return to growth just brings inflation. So there is a trade-off in objectives. Maybe they will prioritize one goal and sacrifice the other. Japan is in a unique situation in that they are the only country to have had negative interest rates for multiple consecutive years. This has permanently altered the mindset and consumption patterns of the Japanese public, making it difficult to predict the impact of policies in the same way of other countries. But this is not the only problem they are facing. Another reason for this fall is the weakening of its currency, the yen. It fell 7% against the dollar last year due to low confidence in the Japanese economy. This is bad because Japan is heavily dependent on exports for growth, and a weak currency just eats on profits from exports, as well as making imports more expensive. Again, it is households who feel the pinch as the cost of living rises. To make matters worse, a demographic time bomb is ticking in Japan. This far eclipses all other problems in threatening their long-term future. Japan's birth rate has been plummeting for decades due to cultural factors, high living costs, and the burden of long working hours. This has resulted in a smaller pool of future workers replacing the aging population. Japan could then face a critical labor shortage, causing bottlenecks in production, as well as straining social security. Although this is a global issue, with the likes of South Korea, Italy, and China facing demographic disasters, Japan's problems seem to be compounding on top of one another. Their future outlook seems bleaker than others, though only time will tell whether they will emerge remaining a powerhouse. Thank you for watching.